Hello, Dr. 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗢 here, and welcome to this week's Spiritual Medicine Digest, where we are going to be talking about primary parasympathetic. Before we get into that topic, would love for you to subscribe to my channel. If you're new to my channel, perhaps click the notification bell so every time I do a new video, you will be notified. So this week, there have been some prompts to talk more about this condition, if you will, of primary parasympathetic. Now, I may have talked about this in other areas, including my TOLPAKAN Level 1 Light Warrior Revolution program, where we dive into various different systems, including the autonomic nervous system, where we talk about this primary parasympathetic, but a lot of people actually don't know about it. So I thought I would take the opportunity this week to share what exactly is that and what to expect, and then perhaps what we can do about it if we're symptomatic. So let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about the autonomic nervous system. So this is part of our human nervous systems that kind of runs on autopilot. Like if you think about your sweat glands, your breathing, your heart pumping, your how watery or dry your eyes are, your taste buds, like those things are controlled by or governed by the autonomic nervous system. And the popular description of the autonomic nervous system includes three major branches: the sympathetic, the parasympathetic, and the enteric nervous systems. So it's like the one ANS, automatic, sorry, it's sort of like automatic, but your autonomic nervous system is divided into three branches, if you will. And people are talking a lot about the vagus nerve. Oh my gosh, if you activate your vagus nerve, healing will happen and yada yada. Well, yeah, sort of. So the vagus nerve is a very big nerve. Actually, it's kind of like a lot of it's in your chest, actually. And that is part of the parasympathetic part of the autonomic nervous system. And that is considered like your relaxation mode. So, wow, you know how they say stress causes illness and disease? Well, guess what? Relaxation causes healing. Duh, right? So I know I'm making a little bit of fun of the whole vagus nerve thing, but I got to tell you, there are a lot, let's just say, cheaper, easier, and less invasive ways than putting an instrument in your body, like a piece or device, to actually activate the vagus nerve or stimulate the vagus nerve. Okay, like many, many different ways. But that's not what we're talking about today. If you want to know about those, relaxation mode to encourage it, just let me know. Email support@careandcan.com. We'll tell you about phototherapy patches that can help you with, let's just say the symptom of stress. Okay. When you're primary parasympathetic, what that means is you're running around in relaxation mode all the time. And you'd be like, well, isn't that good? Not necessarily. Not if you have a big to-do list. So we need a balance between the sympathetic, which is the kind of like the fight, flight, or flee response, and the parasympathetic, which is profound relaxation. There needs to be a balance between the two. And when we're in homeostasis, so when we're in a place of balance, it kind of goes like this. So you have your sympathetic, your parasympathetic, sympathetic, parasympathetic. So there's a balance point. But sometimes many of us get into too much sympathetic, so too much stress, too much fight, flight, or freeze, or flee, or whatever. So in that case, we feel tight, we feel anxious. Sometimes we go into brain fog, and can't make a decision. Those are symptoms of excessive sympathetic drive. The problem with that is there's so many people that have been in the stress response that they start to burn out that part of the system. So in TOLPAKAN healing, we can actually do an assessment of the autonomic nervous system and just ask how happy and balanced are each of these branches: sympathetic, parasympathetic, and enteric, which I haven't talked about yet, but basically it's the gut nervous system. If you have any sort of bloating or indigestion, guess what? If you check how happy and balanced your enteric nervous system is, I'll bet you dollars to donuts, hope that's the right saying, that your enteric system is not happy, your enteric nervous system, that is. So what can happen is, especially if we've been on that sympathetic overdrive, like stress, for a while, and we get finally into a parasympathetic healing response is sometimes that healing response is very excessive. Now, it can be pathologically excessive, as in not able to function for weeks or months at a time. And that's what you can get with chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia. That's what I used to have. And I was exhausted all the time. Didn't matter how much I slept. I was absolutely exhausted, energy drained out of me. Like somebody used a fire hose and, sorry, the opposite, a sucking hose and sucked all the energy out of me, right? But we can have temporary, for hours or even a few days, of primary parasympathetic where it is balanced and is appropriate. Now, yes, it could be excessive stress and healing from that stress. One could pop into that primary parasympathetic, and sometimes that happens with ascension upgrades or solar flares, which we've had a lot of lately, or other types of healing events. However, if you're primarily parasympathetic and you don't need to be, this can be maladaptive, meaning that you don't get anything done. Because I don't know about you, but have you ever had those times where you just go, oh, I just feel kind of tired. Yeah, I just feel like staring at the wall. Yes, I've had those. And that's how I discovered this. Because I did have one day where I just felt like, well, I guess I'm not doing anything today. I just suddenly was like tired. But when I was testing, I didn't test that anything was wrong per se, which is fascinating. So I just sat there staring at the wall for several minutes. And what was very fascinating was I thought, well, since I'm just staring at the wall, I'll just go into stillness through observing internal movement. I'll just feel the energy in my body. Wow, a lot of activity there. I was literally sitting there staring at the wall, my eyes open, and feeling the, in my body going, wow, that's cool. So there was a lot of work being done internally, but not externally. I wasn't expending that energy. And what was very fascinating was that I was able to pop out of it. Now, one of the things we can check is to see if, number one, with TOLPAKAN Healing, Divine Muscle Testing, whether you are in a primary parasympathetic state. And if you are, is that for the highest and greatest good at this time? Or is it maladaptive or excessive or going on too long? There's all these amazing quality questions that you can ask. Now, if it is going on too long and you don't need to be in healing relaxation response for that long, you can, if you're allowed, request that it be finished, if you will, or done or completed. So you can go back to a more balanced homeostasis of sympathetic parasympathetic, right? Now, some people will burnt out their sympathetic system so much so that they don't have enough juice to get it up, if you will, that up instead of down. That's why people do caffeine. I generally don't. I guess you could argue that cacao is caffeine, but I don't even like that much. It's kind of bitter. Anyway, so coffee, some people do it to get the high, the up, If you are like, oh, I drink caffeinated coffee and I can sleep just fine, I don't feel excess energy. I'm like, I feel sorry for you. I'm just kidding. Why that is because if you do not get a high, if you do not get an adrenal response like whoa, when you do caffeine, what that means is you burnt out your sympathetic nervous system and you can't feel it anymore. Not so great. So highly recommend, you don't stop suddenly though, because you got major detox and withdrawal headaches and all that. Wean slowly. So what my husband has been doing is doing kind of half-half. So I use Fabula coffee because I like the taste, and it's like mold-free, decaf, and regular caffeinated. So he does half of each, right? So a scoop of this, scoop of that, puts it together, tastes great. So that's one way, and you can just decrease the proportion of the caffeinated and wean over time, so you don't get a major withdrawal from the caffeine response. And if you sleep really well after being caffeinated, it could very well be that you have burnt out your sympathetic nervous system response. And so you're more likely to go into parasympathetic and stay there, which may or may not be adaptive or a good idea. And for those people that say they sleep great, what I noticed in clinic when I was an acupuncturist, holistic medical doctor, was that most of them did not dream well and did not feel like calm, collected, and rejuvenated after they woke up in the morning. They were kind of sluggish throughout the day. So that is another sign that maybe that caffeine isn't so great, right? But you can have that beautiful taste of coffee, just wean down that caffeine. Now back to primary parasympathetic. So in TOLPAKAN Healing, we can actually check in, are you primary parasympathetic if you're feeling tired, right? And if you get a yes, you can also check, well, is this pathological or is this appropriate? Now, if you get it as appropriate, you can always ask, how long is this going to last? If you're allowed to know, sometimes hours, sometimes days, right? And then you can ask, if it's appropriate, say, can I rebalance the autonomic nervous system now so I don't have to be in primary parasympathetic mode? And if you get a yes, then you can do what we're doing today, which is TOLPAKAN Healing Activation to do just that. Now, if it's pathological primary parasympathetic, then there are other things that you can do to rebalance yourself. That's beyond what we can talk about today, but the TOLPAKAN healing method is super helpful to ask specific questions as to why it is in that state, where it is not for the highest and greatest good for you to be in this tired state for so long. Just so you know, not every time you're in primary parasympathetic, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong. It could be you're just in a profound healing state, and that can be very temporary. In fact, one time I was in that state, and I just asked, "Is this for the highest and greatest good?" I get yes. And I said, "Okay, well, can I make it shorter?" And in that case, I got a no. So I was like, "Okay, I'm just going to drop everything that I was about to do and just be in the primary parasympathetic state and just meditate and do what we do well in that state, which is to just be in the body and meditate and just allow that auto healing to occur." And wouldn't you know, I popped out of that relatively quickly because I just accepted it. So if you're ready to do the TOLPAKAN healing activation to balance out your autonomic nervous system, you can join me. Let's start with stillness through observing internal movement. Go ahead. Go like this. All right. Relax. Feel the energy in your body, wherever that heat is. I'll say the directive. You can just feel your body. And now command that your autonomic nervous system be completely balanced and healed in the highest and best way, all directions of time, with ease, speed, and grace. And now command that if you are in the primary parasympathetic state, that be rebalanced as quickly and easily as possible. Anything preventing that, do it efficiently. Be healed now with ease, speed, and grace in the highest and best way in all directions of time and all timelines where you exist. I now command that if your autonomic nervous system is not balanced and your sympathetic nervous system is burnt out, so to speak, then whatever needs to heal, be healed now. And in the process of healing, rebalance all your nervous systems, including the sympathetic, parasympathetic, and enteric nervous systems. And one thing that you can do is put a hand on the belly, hand on the heart, and focus on the three brains. Just as you're feeling the body, focus on the head brain, heart brain, and gut brain, and just make the intention to balance them all. Now command this healing be integrated and grounded with ease and grace in the highest and best way. For this and all the blessings, give her thanks and gratitude, so be it, and so it is. So if you're not familiar with this, stillness through observing internal movement, we'll put the links below where you can get a free 30-minute class on how to do that and how to do that well. And a couple of announcements on Light Warrior Radio. We are re-airing a very, very important episode for healers and healthcare practitioners. It's with my business and healing mentor, Marcus Bird. It's all about why healing professionals struggle with money. So this is a very, very important, a very important interview, so much so that my TOLPAKAN Level 2 practitioner certification students, it's one of their bonuses is to make sure that they listen to that before they start their practices, because it can make a huge difference. The other thing we want to make sure you know is that Cracking the Chronic Illness Code, that beautiful, amazing telesummit, is going on still, and there's a replay weekend, including my particular talk interview about the 360 degrees of sovereignty and boundary. So if you have some issues with boundaries, this is a good one to listen to. And we've had some beautiful, beautiful new people in the light medicine community from that summit. So I'm super, super pleased and grateful. A couple other announcements is number one, the Light Warrior Training Camp. We only have a couple of weeks left before the early bird savings ends. We had our beautiful connection pre-event workshop, and I actually launched the brand new comprehensive soul typing combination. In fact, we had some beautiful examples of exactly how to do that more comprehensive protocol. And so we'll be revealing how to do that in some of our other trainings. However, if you come to the Light Warrior Training Camp, we're going to be doing lots of different mini healings and really customizing it to what you need, in addition to the beautiful training that's in my book, Sensitivity is Your Superpower, learning weather magic, dowsing, muscle testing, and all that good stuff. So I'll put the link below so you can take advantage of the early bird savings. Also, too, coming up soon is our wonderful, next week, our wonderful patch training team group. Holly, Christine, Leslie, and I are going to be doing a workshop on the earth element. So if you have swelling, aching, bruising, or bloating, you definitely should come to that workshop. So we're going to talk about different acupuncture points that you can use and activate with the phototherapy patches if you choose to help with some of those symptoms. And we'll put that link below as well so you can join us. And then the replays will be in the Light Medicine community only. Whew. All right. So that's it for this week. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's Spiritual Medicine Digest. Let me know in the comments below if you understood and or feel parasympathetic or have been the past couple of days or weeks. Let me know your solutions. And remember, if you like this video, to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Much love.